He don't listen to you. You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
What turns a man into a monster? How does a lonely, broken soul transform into the clown prince of crime, wreaking havoc on Gotham City? Today, we're diving deep into the chilling, tragic, and unforgettable origin story of Arthur Fleck, the man who becomes the Joker. This isn't just a story of madness, it's a story of neglect, betrayal, and society's failure to protect its most vulnerable. Buckle up, because this is the complete Joker origin explained. In this detailed exploration, we'll unpack Arthur Fleck's journey into madness, analyzing key events, relationships, and the societal factors that contributed to his transformation into the Joker. The birth of the Joker. Arthur Fleck's full transformation into the Joker takes place during his appearance on The Murray Franklin Show. Having idolized Murray as a father figure and symbol of acceptance, Arthur's disillusionment begins when the host mocks his failed comedy routine on live television. Invited onto the show ostensibly to showcase his act, Arthur instead seized the opportunity to confront the man he once admired. Dressed in his full clown persona, Arthur steps onto the stage as Joker, fully embracing his new identity. The tension escalates as Arthur reveals his role in the subway murders, framing his actions as a reaction to a society that marginalizes the vulnerable. His anger culminates in a shocking act of violence. He shoots Murray live on air, delivering a chilling monologue about society's indifference to people like him. This moment cements Arthur's metamorphosis into the Joker, a figure who thrives on chaos and rebellion. The televised murder not only horrifies the public but also galvanizes the clown mask-wearing movement in Gotham, turning the Joker into an accidental symbol of defiance against the elite. The spectacle of Murray's murder, broadcast across the city, marks the Joker's arrival as Gotham's agent of chaos. The Joker, a product of society's failure. At its core, Joker is a searing critique of societal neglect and systemic inequality, exploring how these forces can conspire to create monsters. Arthur Fleck's transformation into the Joker is not simply the result of personal trauma. It is the culmination of a lifetime of abandonment and mistreatment by the very society that should have protected him. His descent into madness is a reflection of the failures of Gotham's institutions, mental health services, social support systems, and economic equality to address the needs of its most vulnerable citizens. Arthur's journey begins with small acts of dismissal and cruelty from those around him, such as the teenagers who assault him while he is working as a clown, or the coworkers who mock and betray him. His access to mental health care, already insufficient, is abruptly cut off when city budget cuts eliminate the program that provides his therapy and medication. This loss of support is a devastating blow to Arthur, stripping away the only semblance of stability in his life and leaving him adrift in a city that is increasingly hostile and indifferent. The film forces viewers to confront uncomfortable questions about the role society plays in shaping individuals like Arthur. His transformation into the Joker is not portrayed as an inevitable outcome of his mental illness or traumatic past, but as the result of a society that consistently fails him. From the apathy of strangers to the systemic issues that exacerbate his struggles, Arthur's story is a damning indictment of a world that prioritizes profit over people. Arthur's rise as the Joker is both a tragedy and a warning. It highlights the destructive potential of neglecting those in need, showing how societal failures can breed anger, resentment, and ultimately chaos. At the same time, it challenges viewers to recognize their own complicity in perpetuating these systems, urging them to consider how their actions or inactions impact others. The Joker's story serves as a mirror held up to the audience, reflecting the fractures and flaws of the world we live in. His transformation is a cautionary tale about the dangers of ignoring the marginalized, emphasizing that monsters are often the products of the environments they inhabit. In Joker, Arthur's journey is as much about society's descent into chaos as it is about his own, creating a narrative that resonates far beyond Gotham's fictional streets. The laughing condition. Arthur's uncontrollable laughter is one of his most defining characteristics, serving as both a symptom of his neurological disorder and a symbol of his inner turmoil. This condition, known as pseudobulbar effect, causes Arthur to laugh at inappropriate moments, often alienating him from others and making him a target for ridicule. His laughter is frequently misunderstood, prompting reactions ranging from confusion to outright hostility. Arthur carries a laminated card explaining his condition, but this attempt at bridging the gap between himself and society often falls short. Instead of fostering understanding, his laughter becomes a cruel irony, a source of pain that others perceive as humor. For Arthur, the laughter functions as a mask, concealing his despair and frustration. As Arthur descends further into madness, his laughter takes on a more sinister tone. It becomes a weapon, signaling his transformation into the Joker. What once isolated him now defines his persona, blurring the line between his anguish and his newfound sense of empowerment. The uncontrollable laughter evolves into a chilling signature, reflecting a world that has twisted his pain into chaos. From victim to vigilante. The subway murders mark a pivotal moment in Arthur Fleck's transformation, shifting him from a helpless victim to a figure of violent empowerment. After losing his job at the clown agency, Arthur finds himself on a subway ride home, still dressed in his clown makeup. He encounters three young, wealthy men harassing a woman. When Arthur's involuntary laughter interrupts the scene, the men redirect their aggression toward him, taunting and physically attacking him. As the violence escalates, Arthur draws a gun, a gift from his co-worker Randall, and shoots two of his attackers in self-defense. The third man flees, but Arthur pursues him onto the subway platform and delivers a fatal shot. The act is shocking in its intensity, marking Arthur's first foray into violence. While initially a reaction to being cornered, the murders awaken something deep within Arthur, a sense of agency and power he has never experienced. The murders inadvertently ignite a larger movement in Gotham, with citizens rallying against the elite class symbolized by the young victims. Protesters don clown masks in solidarity, turning Arthur's spontaneous act into the seed of a revolution. For Arthur, the killings are a revelation, sparking a dark realization that violence garners attention and respect in ways his previous existence never could. Arthur Fleck, a man on the brink of collapse. Arthur Fleck is introduced as a man living on the edges of society, struggling to maintain a sense of purpose in the grim reality of Gotham City. His job as a clown for hire, a position meant to bring joy to others, stands in stark contrast to his internal despair. Arthur's daily life is defined by a relentless cycle of ridicule and abuse, amplified by his neurological condition, pseudobulbar effect, which causes uncontrollable fits of laughter. This laughter, often triggered at the worst possible moments, becomes both a symbol of his pain and a source of alienation, further isolating him from the world around him. Arthur lives in a decrepit apartment with his ailing mother, Penny Fleck, who depends on him for care and companionship. Their relationship is one of deep codependence, with Penny instilling in Arthur a distorted sense of self-worth rooted in her delusions about his purpose and identity. Penny's belief that Arthur was born to bring joy to others is contradicted by the harsh reality of his life, where he is met with constant rejection and humiliation. Despite his bleak circumstances, Arthur harbors dreams of becoming a stand-up comedian, envisioning a life where he can earn recognition and affection through his performances. However, his attempts to break into comedy are met with failure, as his material is mocked and misunderstood. This failure mirrors his broader struggle to connect with others and find validation in a world that dismisses him. The decaying state of Gotham itself mirrors Arthur's personal decline. The city, plagued by crime, poverty, and a growing divide between the wealthy and the poor, creates an environment where hope and opportunity are scarce. Arthur's deteriorating mental health, exacerbated by societal neglect, is both a reflection of and a response to this harsh reality. As social services are cut, Arthur loses access to therapy and medication, leaving him increasingly vulnerable to his inner demons. Arthur's story is one of profound loneliness and desperation. He exists in a world where he is invisible to most and ridiculed by those who notice him. Each act of rejection and cruelty chips away at his fragile psyche, setting the stage for his eventual transformation. What begins as a man yearning for connection and validation becomes a tragic descent into madness, as Arthur finds himself drawn into the chaos that will ultimately define him as the Joker. A mother's love or a web of lies? Arthur's relationship with his mother, Penny Fleck, is one of the most pivotal elements in his descent into madness. Penny, a frail and delusional woman, clings to the belief that Arthur is the illegitimate son of Thomas Wayne, Gotham's powerful and wealthy elite. Her obsession with writing letters to Thomas reveals not only her desperate hope but also the extent of her mental instability, which had been exacerbated by her previous lobotomy and years spent in Arkham Asylum. For Arthur, Penny is his only source of love and connection in an otherwise hostile and indifferent world. Their codependent relationship is built on a fragile foundation of half-truths and delusions. Penny instills in Arthur a belief that he was destined to bring joy to others, a sentiment that contrasts sharply with the neglect and abuse he suffered as a child. Arthur discovers through old hospital records that Penny allowed her boyfriend to inflict unspeakable physical and emotional harm on him, leaving him permanently scarred. The discovery of Penny's complicity in his trauma shatters Arthur's perception of her as a loving mother. The moment he suffocates Penny in her hospital bed is not just an act of rage, but a symbolic severance of his past. With her death, Arthur discards the last vestiges of his former self, marking a definitive step in his transformation into the Joker. Her demise serves as a grim turning point, propelling him further into a life defined by chaos and vengeance. Gotham City. Gotham City serves as a character in its own right within Joker, embodying the societal decay and systemic inequality that define Arthur's world. The city is portrayed as a crumbling metropolis, plagued by crime, poverty, and political corruption. The stark divide between the wealthy elite, represented by figures like Thomas Wayne, and the struggling working class reflects a society on the brink of collapse. The sanitation workers' strike, leaving heaps of garbage piling up on the streets, is a literal manifestation of Gotham's rot. The infestation of giant rats becomes a grotesque metaphor for the city's unchecked moral and social decay. For people like Arthur, navigating Gotham means enduring constant humiliation, violence, and neglect. Arthur's story is a microcosm of the broader failures of Gotham's institutions. When funding cuts eliminate his access to mental health services, Arthur is left without the therapy and medication that keep his condition in check. This systemic abandonment highlights the city's indifference to its most vulnerable citizens, creating an environment where resentment and anger can fester. Gotham's disintegration mirrors Arthur's internal chaos, making the city not just a backdrop but a catalyst for his transformation into the Joker. Sophie Demond. Arthur's imagined relationship with his neighbor Sophie Demond represents his desperate need for connection in a world that consistently rejects him. At first, Sophie appears to be a sympathetic figure, sharing lighthearted moments with Arthur and attending his stand-up comedy performance. These interactions offer Arthur a sense of normalcy and companionship, creating the illusion that someone truly cares for him. However, the truth of their relationship unravels in a harrowing scene where Arthur enters Sophie's apartment uninvited. Her confusion and fear reveal that their entire connection was a fabrication of Arthur's mind. The revelation underscores the depth of Arthur's isolation and his inability to distinguish reality from fantasy. Sophie's imagined support had been a coping mechanism for Arthur, a way to escape the loneliness and humiliation that defined his existence. When this illusion is shattered, it becomes another devastating blow to Arthur's fragile psyche. The realization that even his fantasies cannot protect him from the harshness of his reality further propels him toward his transformation into the Joker, a figure who no longer seeks acceptance but instead thrives on chaos and destruction. Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne represents a complex dichotomy in Arthur's life, a symbol of unattainable success and a potential link to his own identity. Penny Fleck claims that Thomas is Arthur's biological father drive Arthur to seek answers, leading to a tense confrontation. Arthur's longing for familial connection contrasts sharply with Thomas's cold dismissal, as the powerful businessman denies any relationship with Penny and Arthur, calling them delusional. This encounter lays bare the chasm between Gotham's elite and its struggling lower class. Thomas, while seen as a savior figure by some, embodies the arrogance and detachment of the wealthy. His refusal to acknowledge Arthur, coupled with a physical altercation, deepens Arthur's sense of rejection and fuels his growing resentment towards society's power structures. The ultimate revelation that Penny fabricated the connection devastates Arthur, stripping him of the hope that he might belong to something greater. This betrayal not only severs his ties to Penny but also transforms Thomas Wayne into a symbol of everything Arthur despises. Their dynamic serves as a microcosm of the class tensions that pervade Gotham, with Arthur's anger against Thomas culminating in the chaos that envelopes the city. The Joker's followers. The aftermath of Arthur Fleck's shocking actions on the Murray Franklin show is Gotham City descending into chaos. Arthur's public execution of Murray on live television serves as the spark that ignites the smoldering unrest among Gotham's disenfranchised citizens. For months, Gotham's working class and downtrodden had grown increasingly frustrated with the systemic inequality perpetuated by the city's elites. The clown mask movement, initially a small and disorganized protest, explodes into a full-scale riot, with citizens donning clown masks as a symbol of rebellion and defiance against the powerful. Arthur, though never intending to be a political leader, becomes an unwitting figurehead for the movement. His clown persona resonates with Gotham's underprivileged, who view him as a symbol of their collective anger and frustration. The riots target the city's institutions and symbols of wealth, including the affluent districts and even Thomas Wayne himself. In a moment of tragic irony, Thomas Wayne and his wife Martha are murdered in an alleyway during the chaos, leaving their son Bruce orphaned. This act mirrors Arthur's own traumatic childhood, drawing a chilling parallel between the two characters while laying the groundwork for the eventual rise of Batman. For Arthur, now fully immersed in his Joker persona, the destruction is cathartic. As he dances atop a police car amid the riots, he revels in the chaos he has inspired. The city's descent into flames mirrors Arthur's fractured psyche, creating a world where his inner chaos is reflected in the external destruction. Gotham's burning streets become a stage for the Joker's liberation, a world stripped of societal norms and rebuilt in his chaotic image. In his mind, the anarchy represents not only vengeance against the society that wronged him, but also a twisted form of freedom. The Joker's narrative. One of the defining aspects of Joker is its ambiguous storytelling, which invites audiences to question the reliability of Arthur Fleck's narrative. From the outset, Arthur's delusions blur the line between reality and fantasy, casting doubt on the authenticity of key events in the story. His imagined relationship with Sophie Demond is the clearest example of this unreliability. What begins as a heartwarming connection between two lonely people is later revealed to be a fabrication of Arthur's mind, underscoring the depth of his isolation and his inability to distinguish reality from illusion. Other moments in the film, such as Arthur's confrontation with Thomas Wayne and his triumphant dance atop a police car, are similarly open to interpretation. The film's final scene, set in Arkham Asylum, deepens this ambiguity. Arthur, now in custody, laughs to himself as he reflects on the events that led to his incarceration. When asked about the joke he's recalling, Arthur cryptically responds, "You wouldn't get it." This line leaves viewers questioning whether the entire story has been a fabrication, a product of Arthur's deluded imagination rather than a recounting of actual events. The ambiguity surrounding Arthur's narrative adds a layer of complexity to the Joker's character, reframing him not just as a villain but as an unreliable narrator whose warped perception of reality is as terrifying as his actions. This uncertainty forces audiences to grapple with the Joker's psyche, making him a more compelling and multidimensional character. The Joker as a symbol of tragedy and transformation. Arthur Fleck's transformation into the Joker is as much a story of personal tragedy as it is a reflection of Gotham's broader societal failures. Arthur begins as a man who yearns for connection and purpose, but his attempts to find meaning are met with rejection, ridicule, and violence. His descent into madness is catalyzed by a series of betrayals, from his mother's lies about his origins to society's indifference to his suffering. Yet, Arthur's transformation is also a story of empowerment, albeit in a twisted and destructive form. As the Joker, Arthur sheds the identity of a downtrodden victim and embraces the chaos within himself. The laughter that once isolated him becomes a weapon, and the societal rejection that once crushed him fuels his rebellion. His transformation into the Joker represents a complete rejection of societal norms, a declaration that he no longer plays by the rules of a world that has continually failed him. The Joker's rise is as much about Gotham's systemic inequities as it is about Arthur's personal descent. The city's neglect of its most vulnerable citizens, its widening gap between rich and poor, and its decaying institutions create an environment ripe for the Joker's emergence. Arthur's story serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating how unchecked inequality and societal apathy can create monsters. At its core, the Joker is not just a character but a symbol of chaos, a reminder of what happens when society turns its back on its most marginalized members. His rise forces audiences to confront uncomfortable questions about accountability, justice, and the role of society in shaping individuals. By the end of the film, the Joker stands as both a tragic figure and a terrifying embodiment of the destruction wrought by systemic failure. The Clown Mask. In Joker, the clown mask evolves into a potent symbol of rebellion, encapsulating the collective anger and frustration of Gotham's disenfranchised citizens. Initially, the mask is a simple part of Arthur Fleck's clown-for-hire persona, representing his struggle to find purpose and happiness in a bleak and uncaring world. However, following the subway murders, the mask takes on a much deeper meaning. Arthur's violent act, while personal in nature, becomes a rallying cry for Gotham's oppressed. The mask shifts from a mundane accessory to a unifying emblem for the city's downtrodden, representing their shared disillusionment and resentment toward the wealthy elite. The anonymity provided by the mask is central to its symbolism. It allows individuals to transcend their personal identities, uniting under a single, faceless image of rebellion. Protesters wear the mask not just to conceal their identities, but to express their defiance against a system that has left them voiceless and powerless. As riots break out across Gotham, the mask becomes a ubiquitous presence, amplifying the chaos and anarchy that engulf the city. The sight of thousands of protesters donning clown masks is a visual testament to the power of collective rage. Arthur's initial indifference to the movement underscores his detachment from societal causes. He views his actions as personal rather than political, yet the movement elevates him into an unwitting figurehead. The realization of the power of the mask, and by extension, his Joker persona gives him, is a turning point in his transformation. By the film's conclusion, Arthur fully embraces his role as the Joker, reveling in the chaos he has inspired. The mask, now synonymous with his identity, is no longer just a symbol of rebellion, it is a declaration of his newfound purpose and power. The transformation of the clown mask from a simple prop to a symbol of anarchy mirrors the film's broader commentary on societal unrest. It highlights the ease with which discontent can spiral into violence when fueled by systemic neglect and inequality. The mask's rise as a symbol of rebellion underscores the volatile relationship between the oppressed and the elite, serving as a stark reminder of the consequences of ignoring the needs of a fractured society. Arthur Fleck's journey from a broken man to the Joker is a haunting reflection of what happens when society fails its most vulnerable. His story forces us to ask, who is truly responsible for creating the monster, the man himself or the world around him? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into your favorite characters and stories. Thanks for watching.